And we are live. Is insulin resistance, is it reversible? Can we stop insulin resistance? How can we stop insulin resistance? Where there are many things that can be done for people to overcome insulin resistance. I'm going to talk about the main ones that have a lot of evidence behind them so that you can focus on the things that make the most impact. Now, why is this important? Well, insulin resistance leads to many problems. Insulin resistance leads to hyperinsulinemia, which is high levels of insulin in the body. That's what it means, right? So, like if somebody becomes resistant to an antibiotic, that means the antibiotic doesn't work. If somebody becomes resistant to a certain exercise, that means that the exercise that they're stronger, right? But that's a way for the body to actually fight something that is happening. So, for instance, if there is too much insulin in the body, then these high levels of insulin then result in the body not reacting to insulin as well. And so that leads to insulin resistance. That means the insulin that is there doesn't work as well. And the problem is that hyperinsulinemia has been linked to obesity, heart disease, cancer, and many other things. Why? Because insulin is also a growth hormone. So that's how it actually makes you gain weight. Now, hyperinsulinemia also it starts working in turning the sugar that you eat into fat, and it turns that fat into your muscle. It turns the fat into and pushes it into your pancreas. It turns that fat and pushes it into your liver, and it pushes that fat and turns it into your lungs. Meaning, it turns the sugar into fat, and it ends up in all those areas of the body, and so we end up with fatty muscle disease, we end up with fatty liver disease, we end up with fatty pancreas, we end up with heart disease, and all these things then lead us to, weakness of the muscles, weakness of the heart, weakness of the kidneys, weakness of the pancreas, weakness of the eyes, and that's why diabetes is the leading cause of blindness, is the leading cause of heart disease, is the leading cause of kidney disease and dialysis, is the leading cause of amputations. So it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem all over the world. 1.5 people in the US are said to be insulin resistant. 1/3 are said to be pre-diabetic. And so it's a pretty big issue, right? So how do we actually improve hyperinsulinemia or insulin resistance? Well, we know that insulin resistance is one of the main problems with diabetics. But where does that come from? Well, insulin resistance comes from too much insulin, hyperinsulinemia. And where does hyperinsulinemia come from? From excess addictive sugars. So, how do we actually decrease the excess addictive sugars? Well, here's the thing. The first thing is to stop the sugars. So it's a dietary problem that we're treating pharmacologically. You see, we think that with a pill, with an insulin, with a medication, we're actually getting rid of the sugar, but we are not. Because what we're doing is we're actually putting the sugar in different parts of the body. So let me explain myself. Let's say that you had a ton of trash in your house, and I go over there and you say, okay, I want to get rid of the sugar. And I say, no, we can actually hide it underneath the bed. We can hide it in the closet. We can put it in the drawers, all these different places that it can be. And I'm just going to help you hide it so that nobody can see it. That's what insulin does, right? And that's why high levels of insulin do. And so the only way to actually, the first thing I would say is to actually stop taking the highly addictive carbs, right? Highly addictive carbs. Not all carbs are made equal. So highly addictive carbs is the first step. And that is hugely important to stop all those sugars. There's about 70 names out there for different sugars. And the problem now is that in the ingredient table, that is actually not stated many times now. In the ingredient table, you can't even see that anymore. A lot of times they say zero sugar, and then in the bottom, they put all these different chemicals that are like sugar, so you can't even trust it. And crazy enough is that a lot of these organizations that have been placed and you think they sound great, they turn science and they really create these confounding studies. And when you go look at the founding members of these organizations, it's actually the big industries, Coca-Cola and all of these very big industries. And so, it's not like it's a conspiracy theory or anything like that. It's not. They're trying to stay in business, they're trying to grow their businesses. And, that's another story. That's another story for morality, and how that's happening. But I really think that to fight against that is a lost cause. Like Mother Teresa, she never went to an anti peace rally, right? You really don't get a lot anywhere. The main focus has to be in actually creating a new system that makes the old one irrelevant. So we just have to show people, and even Coca-Cola, like if people are not buying them, they're going to have to create other products. Otherwise, they're going to go out of business, right? And that's what they're already been doing. So that's what I really think. That's where the money's at, to actually be able to create a system that makes the old one irrelevant. And so what I'm doing here is showing you how you can actually reverse this insulin resistance. And I think the first step, what I've seen in my practice in the hospital, the first step is to get these sugars out, right? The second step is increasing the times in between your body is storing sugar and your body actually getting rid of the sugar to either utilize it or get rid of it. And how do you do that? You do that through fasting. Fasting is one of the most impressive ways to do this. Now, in some of my challenges that I do with people every month, immediately when people start doing it, like the second or the third day, they start sending me messages and they start saying, "Wow, my sugar is so low. I'm so impressed." And now at the beginning I used to be like, "Oh my God," I used to be so surprised because as a doctor we never get taught of how to do this, how to take people through fasting, how to take people through of some of the dietary issues that they're having. But when you see the results, it's amazing. It's amazing. So that's the second thing I would say, that's the most important thing to do. And then the third thing I would say is to actually work in your mind to figure out what are the things to tell yourself, okay, what is it that you think is stopping you from actually developing this problem, from overcoming this problem? Is it that you think that eating sugar is going to give you a better life? Is it that you think that being obese somehow makes you stronger? Or I work with a lot of men and they always run into that piece that if they lose a lot of weight, they think they're going to lose their strength. A lot of women and men too have gone through traumatic events, and these traumatic events make them used to feeling certain emotions, and this is what they know. This is what they know, these emotions. So it's untangling all of that and actually helping them move forward. And so, and the science shows us, there is a study done by Dr. Fellatini from Kaiser Permanente, and he studied, if somebody goes through really hard times as a kid, they're going to have more likelihood of having type 2 diabetes, depression, lung disease. So all these things matter. And I think that's really important for you to give yourself the permission to actually overcome this disease and become free from being addicted to these addictive carbs, right? Highly addictive carbs. And so So that's really important to for me. And there's different ways to do it. There is different methods to do that. There is like rapid eye movement. There is cognitive behavioral therapy. There is neuro linguistic programming that you can do. And so all these amazing new methods that are coming up and helping people to dislodge this. Some people work with what is called energy healers, and the energy healers are so cool. Like I used to be so afraid of these words when I was as trained as a doctor and thought that they were so conspiracy and woo woo. And then when I meet them personally, they're like the most awesome and kind people. And they are so calm and they are so grounded, and they can take you through in your mind, and just like with being there, through like amazing breakthroughs and insights about yourself and how you want to create your future. So there's different techniques about how to skin that cat per se, right? And then the last thing I want to say is, in the fourth thing, I definitely believe that and whether I believe it or not, that's what the science shows us, that a low carb diet initially. Low carb diet could mean low carb diet, or it could mean a full on ketogenic diet, right? It just depends how fast you want to go. Ketogenic diet could be full of animal products. It could not be full of animal products, right? It just depends how you want to do it. Remember these key concepts about diet that I'm going to tell you right now. The first one is bioindividuality. Hey, look, you are all different. We're all different. I'm different. You're different. My food could be your poison. Your poison could be my food. Ketogenic might work for me. It might not work for you. Veganism might work for me, but it might not work for you, for many different reasons. So just remember that there is bioindividuality, and we're learning this more and more with studies. There's studies that came out of Israel that show that if a person eats a banana and I eat a banana, my sugar responds differently than that person. And so we are all different, but also remember that there are models and there are pathways, just like highways in your city. Why get out of your car and try with a machete to build a new road, right? So there are things that we do understand about the body that actually are amazing. So, hey, there is a lot of science that shows that the ketogenic diet can help you reverse type 2 diabetes. Boom, why not follow it, right? A low carb diet, why not follow it? There's a lot of data that shows that a high vegetable, plant-based diet actually gives the people who live the longest around the world, that's what they eat. So, hey, if the people who live the longest, 95, 100 years old, healthy, when you look at their diets, they're usually mainly eating a 95% plant-based diet. That tells you, it doesn't mean that a person living in ketogenic diet doesn't live that long. It's just that we haven't seen them yet. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, but that's all I'm saying, right? It's almost like wearing a cast. If, let's say, I break my arm today, am I going to wear a cast and then leave it on forever? Maybe if you like it and if it helps you, if you're like, something that the cast would help, like whatever you do in your life, that cast would help you, but it doesn't have to be forever. So you do this habit, eating these dietary habits until you get your disease reversed, and then you're off to the races, right? And so those are the main things that have been proven by science to actually help you reverse type 2 diabetes, help you overcome type 2 diabetes. About 86% of the people can reverse their insulin resistance, their hyperinsulinemia and their insulin resistance. How amazing is that? If they have type 2 diabetes, all right? So that is it for today. This is Dr. Zuleta here with Mind Your Health, episode one of our segments here in Dr. Zuleta's podcast that I love because I can geek into the science and a lot of the health issues. If you guys want to hear more of these, please comment, share. It helps us spread this message. And then comment about things that you want to hear. All right? So share this message, and much love from Dr. Z, and take it easy. Bye-bye.